They just accept it and move on to something else to complain about. Hey there, it's Sunday morning and I just released a video on making this sled right here, which I'm calling perfect joint sled, or another way of looking at it, a very versatile sled that you can use for a bunch of different things, because almost immediately I made improvements with it. Unlike my precision miter guide right here, I spread out over 2 videos after I realized some things that I could do better with that. I actually did them here, and you can go further with it. Like one of the key things was to make these 2 things right here, which are just pieces of 1/4-inch plywood with dowel pins to hold them in place, that turn this into a very precise miter cutting sled. So you could do the same thing, like make a pair of these to cut a 22.5 degree angle as well. And you could put the 2 parts in after roughly cutting it on your inaccurate miter saw and recut the joint so it fits perfectly together. Right? And then you can use it like a regular table saw sled as well. Like you can take the guide bars or the clamping bars off completely, leave the bolts in place, of course, because they won't get in the way, and just use it with the stock pushed up tight against the fence on the front. All right, which you need to, I didn't say it in the video, but you really do need to make sure that this fence up at the front here is square to the blade, which you would normally do with any table saw sled. Okay, so interesting, kind of an interesting project. That kind of, well, it did come up on the spot when I was cutting the parts for my new chair, and ran into problems with the miter saw, which I should talk a little bit about maybe. I swapped out that miter saw around this time last year, maybe a little bit later. I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, I've been using it. And one of my issues with a miter saw in general, especially in this shop, where there's not a lot of space between the miter saw station and the end or the side of the table saw, is that I keep walking into the part that juts out. You know, the part that you grab and you adjust the angle. And that wasn't an issue on the old Hitachi, because the mechanism that they had there was set, and to adjust the angle, you would do something differently. But the part that it clipped into, the detent section, was fixed in place. It couldn't move. This one, however, is like a stainless steel plate that's screwed down to the platen deck, and it allows adjustment easily, like it's right out front there, but it also moves quite easily if you walk, 200 pounds into it. So I've done that several times and I've knocked it out of adjustment, and it's at the point now where I need to go, like I've already done this a couple times already, but I need to go again and readjust it. And this time what I think I'll do is I'll adopt the same approach that I did here with the pins. After I get it adjusted in place, I'll drill a couple of very accurate holes in place and put pins in place, steel pins this time, to make sure that it doesn't move if I walk into it. I made the video for the sled a little bit differently in that I included, like, hard-coded the subtitles along the bottom. And that was a feature that I'm going to be using from now on, depending on how many people either say they hate it in the comments or say they like it. Okay, the reaction, in other words. It's the same thing with other things you can do with a video, like music. By and large, it's best to avoid music altogether. I like to put a little bit at the end to kind of wrap up the video in some sort of, definite way. But yeah, for the most part, video, like especially for stuff like woodworking and other things where you really don't need any extra drama injected in, It's best to avoid music because you just get too many complaints about it. It turns people off. Another thing is intros. You know, that turns off people. I know it turns me off. And I actually made a video on this channel, very short video talking about that before. Intros, I hate them. Get into the video. Get into the content right away. Don't mess around. And that could be right after this, like it's a commercial coming up or something. Although you see that now. Anyway, so yeah, I got the subtitles hard-coded in, and that comes about because I downloaded the latest version of my editing software and it has that feature, so I thought I would use it and see how it, flies. And if you have an opinion on it, leave it here in this comment as well if you watch the video. The reason why I'm judging response to it because, okay, I know that YouTube auto-generates the captions, and it does that very faithfully and accurately for mine, as in, like, I generally upload the night before I release it, and by the time I release it, it has the subtitles added. But I know that there are instances where that doesn't happen, and also instances where it doesn't get what you're saying correct. So this gives me a chance to do that and put it right there on the screen. Also, it gives me a place to put my logo right down in the corner. Kind of trademark thing, whatever. And it doesn't take up space on the video. Like a lot of people are making videos 2x1 now instead of 16:9, which is a little bit flatter. And this comes closer to that. It's still closer to 16:9. So yeah, it doesn't take up a lot of real estate. But then if you want to turn on, say, a foreign language subtitle, which I have no idea if that happens in foreign language countries, if YouTube automatically does that, probably it does, then those will overlay that part down and it might make it harder to read. So that might be a problem right there. So that's one thing I was thinking about. The other option is to put it up at the top, but I tried that in the layout and I said, that's too distracting. I can't put it up there. Everybody's gonna complain about that being up there, okay? Although, to be fair, when you do something over and over and over again, you get less and less and less complaints because either those people that are chronic complainers leave, or they just get used to the thing that they're seeing and they know you're not going to change it, right? So they just accept it and move on to something else to complain about. So obviously what I've got going on is the chair build. Like I said before, it's a big project. It's going to take time. I came up with this idea in the meantime and thought it would make a small, video, a good one for that. So I did that. Maybe something else will come along while I'm doing the rest of it that I could do something similar. But I do have another video that I was going to release before Christmas, but I didn't get the rest of it done. Actually, I did get the rest of it done, but I lost the footage for it and I need to redo it. And I've been kind of putting that off. So that'll be coming up. I might actually get that done this week. It depends on how much I have to do here. Like I still owe the first segment video for my Patreon viewers and locals viewers on the chair build, which I haven't gotten to editing yet because once again, I lost something. This time it was audio. I forgot to turn on this mic right here for a segment that I was recording. And so I'll have to either refilm that, which is almost impossible now, or just go with the camera audio, which is not great. So I'll probably just go with the camera audio. And like I said before, I was leaning more towards making this a silent video, build video, for my main channel in the end, something maybe 15, 20 minutes long, just me here working in the shop at the project. So in that case, I wouldn't need that spoken part anyway. So yeah, that's one of the, the setbacks. And then you use that as an excuse not to do what you're supposed to be doing. All right. So instead of editing that video, I went, I made the changes here the improvements that I made to it. And I think it's a better project in the end because I did those things. right? Especially that, like, I don't know why I didn't think of that fence, that sub fence, you could say. That, you know, the fence is good for holding the thing together on the front here because you cut right down the middle here, right? So, but you can't put anything against it because the bolts are in the way. So, yeah, that, very good idea to put that sub fence in place, glue it down. I let it set overnight. Then I came the next day and I made the cut, and I made some more cuts, and I made these things. So yeah, it was quite involved. As for a timeline for that chair to be done, that's going to be quite a while because, okay, I got to say that I'm going to be, like, I have a design for it, right? But I don't know for certain if some of that's going to work the way I want it to work. As in, I don't have an example to go by. There's nothing out there I can copy for this type of chair that I'm building here. So I need to build certain parts of it, put certain parts of it together, even just temporarily, and try those parts and see how it works, right? Otherwise, I'm going to wind up with something that's too uncomfortable to sit in, and that entirely defeats the purpose of doing it. All right? I want a comfortable chair to sit in the end, something that's going to last for years and not break every time I adjust myself, right? When I move around a little bit. So yeah, it's going to take some time, but a way to stay up on top of that, if you're interested, is to sign up to Patreon. Is the least expensive way. The option on Locals is a little bit more expensive, but it includes all the stuff that the higher tier stuff does on Patreon. So you get that as well. That's my build series that I made over the years. And you can watch those and all the exclusive content that has been building up on both platforms over the years as well.
I've noticed your attempts to engage me in idle conversation. And I see the way your pupils dilate when you look at my body.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Obviously, you've suggested a visit to the holodeck in the hopes of creating a romantic mood. Are you in love with me, Ensign?
No.
Then you wish to copulate?
No! I mean,